back, everybody, to the home of Jewett Guitars in lovely downtown Cleveland, Ohio. In this series of videos, what we're going to do is show you the fundamentals of binding an acoustic body guitar with wood binding. Binding a guitar is one of those things in building a guitar that's a little bit of a scary thing to do, because you've got the potential to make some mistakes which are hard to recover from. What I want to do is kind of show you some of the things that you want to avoid when binding in terms of techniques and mistakes, but also to give you just the fundamentals of how to do it properly. Remember, one of the cardinal rules of guitar making, or just about anything, is to do very clean work as precisely as possible, but as efficiently as possible. And one of the things you'll find out about binding, if you build enough guitars, is that bad binding jobs that have a lot of gaps or just a lot of problems in the execution of the binding are going to take you a lot of time to make it correct or to make it better during the latter part of the building process, which includes the finishing and the gluing and all that stuff. So what I want to do is I'm going to start with a maple guitar body that we just completed here. This is flame maple with a nice German spruce top, and it is a cutaway. The very first thing that you need to do is you need to prepare the body for binding. And that's something that's really overlooked a lot in all binding. Because as the old adage that painters have always used for years says, surface preparation is everything. So we need to get the sides flat, square to the top, and smooth, because the bearing bit that guides the router will have to follow a fair and true curve on here. If it doesn't, you're going to have interruptions and problems in the binding. So what I want to do is I want to show you now how I take the body from this point, and where we are right now is I've built and closed the box, and I've just trimmed the excess of the top and the back off with a router. So I'm going to show you how to prepare the sides in preparation for binding. Then we'll get into some binding sequences and some of the fundamentals of bending binding and things like that. So stay tuned and we'll get right into preparing this body for binding. Just one final check, but I'll put the binding in the channel that I just cut and just make sure, and I'm really, really happy with that. I have, as I said, just about a thumbnail bit coming above proud, and then it's lying flat, almost dead flat, right against the side. And that will make scraping the binding, finishing, and everything else that goes on from here a lot easier when you take the time to get that cut just right. Okay, to do the bend, I've got the strips in the two slats with the heater blanket, and I've got my pull downs and my hold down just down enough to give it a little bit of friction. I'm going to take my heater and I'm going to ramp it up to 212, which is the temperature of boiling water. Actually, if you want to know, this is the way I bend sides too. Take your time in making this as perfect as you can. It's more important that these bottom lamination lines line up perfectly, because if they're off, your eye is going to be drawn towards that more than they're going to be drawn towards maybe just a kind of a sloppy seam here. So make sure, at the very least, you get those little lamination lines lined up perfectly. When you pull the tape off the top, be very careful. Even though you have shellac on there, it's really important that you pull that tape off slowly and at a diagonal, just like that.